Hello and welcome. Today we will discuss distributed database. Then what is distributed database? Till last lectures we have covered only the centralized databases where the whole data resides in a single server. So that concept is known as centralized database system. But what will happen that if the companies are working on multiple locations? Because companies are working on multiple locations, so they will require their concerned data at that particular location. If we will work in centralized environment, then what will happen that whenever any remote location wants to access any data, then it has to fetch that data from the centralized location. So the network delay and the cost of network both will incur, and it will delay or it will down the speed of processing. That's why the distributed database system comes into the picture. Here you can see the definition of distributed database, that a distributed database is a collection of multiple logically related databases distributed over a computer network, and a distributed database management system as a software system that manages a distributed database while making the distribution transparent to the user. That transparent to the user is a very important term, means user will not know that the database is distributed. For live example, you can see that the database of Google is distributed, but you never know that you are fetching the data from different servers. Here we have the example in which you can see that the database is distributed over different locations. The Chicago is a headquarters, so all data resides here also. Another location is New York, where employees data resides of only New York. Projects all, because they are working on different projects and works on only New York employees. Similarly, an Atlanta location that is distributed as per the requirement. Similarly, Los Angeles, similarly for San Francisco. So that is the model of distributed database system, and it is connected with communication network. And that is the advantage, that if we want to access or fetch New York employee data, then it resides here. And if this site in emergency requires the data of Atlanta, then it can fetch from Atlanta or from the Chicago, and the user will not know that it is distributed over the network. So we will discuss the advantages of the distributed database system. The first and foremost advantage is the level of transparency. So what do you mean transparency? Transparency means we are talking about that user will not know that data is distributed. So means level of transparency means for the user it will look like a singular, or it will look like a centralized database. The first transparency, that is known as distribution and network transparency. As we have already discussed, that user will not know that the database is distributed over different locations and it is coming, or we are using or accessing the data on the network. Replication transparency states that the data is replicated, means data is duplicated over the sites to reduce the network delay. So whatever the data which is frequently accessed by different sites will be replicated on different sites, and replication also provides the reliability and the availability of the data. But replication also increases the problem that of duplicacy, but the advantages are there. So replication transparency is also there, and user will not know that data is replicated over the site. That is the headache of the distributed database management system, who will manage that. Then the fragmentation transparency states that a relation is fragmented on different types, means there are different type of fragmentation. First is horizontal, derived horizontal, vertical, mixed. So data relations are fragmented and user will not know that the relations are fragmented. That is known as fragmentation transparency. The another advantage is increased reliability and availability, because reliability refers to the system of lifetime, that is the system is running efficiently most of the time. Why? because database is available on different sites. So if a site fails, then another site will fulfill the demand of the request. So the reliability increases with the distribution of the data, and the availability, data is available at multiple sites. So if a site is not working properly, then data will be available for another sites. That is not with the centralized database. If the centralized database is down, then nobody can access the data. Improved performance, the third advantage of this, it improves because distributed database improves the performance at that the most needed data is available with the site itself where it requires. So it also improves the performance, and very easier to expand, means scalability is very easier. It is scalable because if we are adding the site, then we can add the data also. So it is easily expandable and easily configurable. Now we will move forward toward data fragmentation, replication and allocation. So first we will understand that what do you mean by data fragmentation. Whenever we are splitting a relation on the basis of any attribute or any condition, then it is known as fragmentation. And there is a constraint that those fragments must be correct, means we are able to reconstruct our original relations by applying some operations on the fragments. The first and most basic fragment is known as horizontal fragmentation. Horizontal fragmentation states that, or it is known that horizontal fragment, whenever we are putting the condition, means we are cutting or we are splitting the relation horizontally. Horizontally means if suppose we will write a query that select employees from DNO 5, it means we are fragmenting or we are splitting the relation. We will get the resultant where employees belongs to department number 5. Similarly, if we will do that, then we will get different fragmentation on the basis of departments. These are known as fragments, and because they are horizontal fragments, so they are known as horizontal fragmentation. You can see this in this example also. Here you can see that there is a sample customer table. It is one table. What we want to do, we want to make the horizontal fragmentation on the basis of their states. So customer state Tamil Nadu, customer state Gujarat and customer state FL. So we will get the location or the fragments, horizontal fragments on the basis of their customer states. So we will get 3 fragments on this because there are 3 different states. So that is known as horizontal fragmentation. Now comes to the derived horizontal fragmentation. Derived horizontal fragmentation is done on whenever we are primarily dividing one relation into horizontal fragment, and on the basis of that relation we are dividing or we are splitting another relation on the joint condition. That is known as derived horizontal fragmentation. For example, one university records the student roll number, name, marks and country, and in another relation it maintains the roll number and their addresses. So if student is horizontally fragmented by that university on the country basis, then we will get that relation into student 1, student 2, student 3, number of countries. If we have 5 countries, the student belong to 5 different countries, then we will get 5 horizontal fragmented relations. So student 1 to student 2 to student 5. Now we have to divide these addresses also because they are the addresses of the student. So if the student is already fragmented, then we will require the addresses also fragmented. So if we will divide those addresses on the basis of those students using the semi-join operation, then it will become the address 1, address 2 and so on. So that address 1, address 2, address 3, these are known as derived horizontal fragmentation. Now the third one is the vertical fragmentation. Vertical fragmentation states that whenever we are splitting a relation on the basis of attributes, now we are putting the selection condition in horizontal fragmentation, but for vertical fragmentation we want to derive or we want to divide the relation horizontally. So if we are putting the attribute basis splitting of the relation, then it becomes the vertical fragmentation. Here you can see in the example that we are putting the vertical fragmentation, customer number is common in both. Here customer name, customer address and customer state. Here we are putting the customer late, customer balance, customer rating and customer due. So suppose if this is a confidential data and we do not want to share with others, then we can put the vertical fragmentation. We will do the vertical fragmentation. These are confidential data, so it will remain with the center side while it can be distributed over the customer sites. So that is known as vertically fragmentation. Now we will move further and we will discuss that what do you mean by fragmentation schema. So fragmentation schema stores all the definition of fragments. So fragmentation schema is a catalog, it is a catalog where all the fragment definitions will be stored, so we can know, or distributed database management system will know that how many fragments and what are the definitions of those fragments. Similarly, allocation schema stores that which fragment is allocated where. So it keeps all the data, all the information about the allocation of the fragments, allocation of the data, that which data is distributed or allocated where. Similar, data replication. In distributed database, data replication is required. So data replication schema keeps the information about how much data is replicated and where. Data replication is, there are two possibilities. First is 100% or full replication, or partial replication and no replication. So if we will replicate 100%, means all sites will have all the data, then it is known as full replication. It increases the availability but it creates the complexity. So if we will do no schema, means no replication, then it becomes the centralized database where no site have a duplicate data. So it increases the decreases the complexity, means it is easier to maintain, but it also decreases the availability. So partial replication is required. So in distributed databases we generally uses the partial replication. Then the data distribution and data allocation. This is relevant only when the partial replication or partition is used. So whenever we are using partial replication, then we must know that how much we have replicated or distributed the database. With this, thank you very much. Thank you.